Very good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the current affairs classes. I hope you all are doing well. So today we are going to cover 11th and 12th December CA part 1. And there are a lot of news coming from SEBI, right? So please stay focused and tuned in the class. It can be very, very important for all the upcoming examination. Before starting the class, I want any one of you to please let me know, is the audio and video, both things are apt? Are the visuals clear? Please let me know. Video is good? Anyone please let me know? So that I can proceed with the class. All clear? All right. So, sorry, this is 9 to 10 December. So we are going to cover 11th and 12th December part 1. A lot of SEBI and SBI related news are also there. So let's cover them, right? First, ESI Finance and Banking category, we have some Ministry of Finance data regarding public sector banks. So this is a proper table which is going to tell you about the performance, or we are going to discuss about the performance indicators or profitability indicators of the public sector banks. So Ministry of Finance has shared recently some data of the public sector banks specifically. Remember, this is not for the private banks, this is only for the public sector banks, right? So there are certain indicators which shows that they are performing well, and the NPA of the public sector banks is on a declining trend. So this is quite a congratulatory position for the public sector banks. First thing which we have is gross NPA, gross non-performing assets. If you look at the GNPA, the status is that they are declining for all the public sector banks, right? So its status is they are falling. Now, before moving on to the other facts, what is GNPA? We have discussed this thing lot number of times if you remember. NPA is basically non-performing asset, right? The asset or the loan, because loan is an asset for the bank, which goes out and does not come back. So basically, it seems almost impossible to recover any advance given by the bank or a loan given by the bank. That is NPA, right? Generally, more than 90 days, you see, they classify it as NPA. There are other categories, but then we are not going into that. So NPA is basically non-performing asset. Now, what is the difference between gross NPA and net NPA? Gross NPA is inclusive of all the NPAs. We are not excluding the provisioning made by the bank against the NPA. In net NPA, you deduct the provisions made by the bank. You deduct the provisions made by the bank, right, against their risky loans. Alright, this is the difference between gross and net NPA. Remember, what are provisions? You keep certain funds in order to meet with any, say, uncertainty. In case of any unforeseen situation, you should be liquid enough to deal with that crisis. So you make some provisions, right, against the risky loans. When you deduct that out of GNPA, it gives you net NPA. I hope the difference is clear. Yes, Kuldeep, you can surely rely on this channel for SBI Clerk and PO. Right? All these current affairs, they are comprehensively made by the team and covering all the important news from many newspapers. So nothing important is left out here. You can rely on this. It's just that you have to keep on revising whatever is given to you, right? So this is GNP, net NPA. GNP is declining. And if you see September 3.12, March 14.98, what will be the impact of this declining GNPA? Declining GNPA is a good indicator, isn't it? That shows your loans or your assets are becoming performing, or they are becoming less non-performing. So first thing, increasing profitability, of course, because when you are able to recover the loans you have granted, you have extended, your profitability is improving, right? Then improving capital adequacy. What is capital adequacy? You should have liquid funds against the risk-weighted assets, right? The CAR or capital adequacy ratio, as outlined by the Basel norms, that you have to keep certain percentage of funds against your total risk-weighted assets to maintain system liquidity, right? support economic growth and improve investor confidence. So see, one thing which you have to remember all the time, banking system has to be liquid enough. If there is proper liquidity in the bank, any economic crisis or financial crisis, the bank can withstand with. Are you getting my point? So that is the thing. This is first indicator. GNPA is declining. And there are generally certain measures to improve the GNPA status, which is 4 R's. They are known as 4 R's. Recognition, recapitalization, resolution and reform. First you recognize the NPA. Then you recapitalize them with various measures, right? Try to recapitalize them. Then resolution of such stressed assets, and then reform such process or your operational efficiencies, operational practices which are leading to say NPA. Try to be more risk assessive, right? So try to assess the risk involved before extending the loan, है ना? So do not indulge in aggressive lending kind of activities, all these things. Second, capital adequacy ratio, as we have discussed, capital adequacy ratio is the minimum amount of capital which you need to keep against your total risk weighted assets or loans, right? To be more technical, the proper definition would be tier 1 plus tier 2 capital divided by total risk weighted assets. You all know that, right? So it has improved. That means public sector banks are having proper capital. So there is no liquidity crisis looming around. Then net profit, if you see, net profit is when you are out of your gross profits, when you exclude your say operational expenses, etc., whatever expenses you have to incur, when you deduct that value from the gross profit, it gives you net profit. So this is the exact value, right? Net profit of PSBs has recorded the highest ever. So PSBs have recorded highest ever net profits of rupees 1.41 lakh crore during 23-24. So this can be significant. Okay, remember this. Then if we talk about financial inclusion, so for 54 Jandhan accounts and more than 52 crore collateral free loans have been sanctioned so far. 54 crore Jandhan accounts. You see what is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion, and remember the term financial inclusion, I'm talking about the word itself, not the definition. The word financial inclusion in India, you can note this down, was first given by Raghuram Rajan and C. Rangarajan committee. Remember this, right? Next thing, what is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion is basically a process where we are trying to integrate or mainstream the unbanked areas, underserved areas, or underbanked areas where banks are not present properly. We are trying to develop deposit or banking habits of the people. This is the crux of financial inclusion. We want to streamline them with the broader financial process and extend the facility of these financial products offered to the other people. So be it any remote area, rural area, we want them to be properly integrated with the financial system, the banking system. Right? Now, what is the reason? Why do we pursue financial inclusion? Try to think sometimes, because you need to develop your cognitive capabilities, right? You have to face the interview. Why financial inclusion? See, the primary reason you can quote here is savings. You see, rural people, they can also save a lot, right? They have a lot of savings. But then savings underlying ideally somewhere in your house, kept secretly, is of no use for the economy. When that saving is channelized via the banking system into investment, so when you deposit that money into the banking system, bank gives out it for loans, for investment purposes, it is going to be productively utilized for the economic growth. Are you getting my point? So savings are very, very important for investment, and investment is necessary for growth. So that's why we keep on calling for financial inclusion also, so that people, they have proper bank accounts like Jandhan accounts. So all the benefits or say all the targeted beneficiaries of schemes of the government of India, they can get the targeted amount or the benefit amount directly credited into their bank account. I hope this is clear, right? So financial inclusion mein more than such Jandhan accounts have been opened up, and 52 crore collateral free loans have been granted due to a lot of schemes. You know, the Mudra scheme has been there, which provides you Shishu, Kishore, Tarun category of loans, right? 50,000, then 50 say 5 lakh, 5 say 10 lakh. Now you have another category in the Mudra loan, you should remember, which is Tarun Plus. right, which is offering you up to 20 lakh rupees of loan, है ना, Tarun Plus. So this is the thing, remember, and you can remember this fact. Women beneficiaries have also been rising under these schemes. So women beneficiary percentage, if you look at under the Mudra scheme, 68%. Right? Quite impressive. And we are also trying to improve it further. The next is PM Swanidhi scheme, 44%. Swanidhi is basically targeted for street vendors, providing financial assistance for to these street vendors. Okay, so this is the thing. Then next we have number of bank branches. If you look at the number of bank branches, so in September 2024, 1,60,501 branches were there, out of which 1,686 are in rural and semi-urban areas. So that shows that banking penetration is improving in the rural areas, right? And the total number of operative KCC accounts have also increased. Kisan credit card. Then MSME advances, if you see, so they have registered a CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, of 15% during the last 3 years. Basically, it shows that PSBs are also lending more, providing more loans to the MSME, and MSME sector is one of the priority sectors for the government, right, and comes under the priority sector lending framework. So you should be remembering that. Then if you see total MSME advances given out by the public sector banks as on 31st March 2024, it stood at rupees 28.04 lakh crores. And if we talk about the gross advances of scheduled commercial banks, out of these, if we talk about the scheduled commercial banks, they grew from 8.5 lakh crores to 61 lakh crores, you know. So all these indicators, they show what we have discussed in very much detail. It would be more than sufficient that PSBs are improving their banking performances and profitability. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the next news. So you have this Edelweiss Mutual Fund. Remember, this can also be an important fact. Edelweiss Mutual Fund has launched India's first ETF dedicated to capital markets as well as the insurance sector. Right? So this is first such ETF launched by Edelweiss Group, which is catering to capital market as well as the insurance sector. It has launched this, which is an exchange traded fund. You know what is the ETF, which is named as Edelweiss BSE Capital Markets and Insurance ETF. Okay. Now what will it be doing? Remember, it is going to replicate and track the BSE Capital Markets and Insurance Total Return Index. It's going to replicate the performance of the top performing companies on the BSE related to capital as well as the insurance market. Right? So remember, this is going to be tracking the performance of such companies. Now, what is the benefit of this thing? The benefit is that the investors will be able to tap into a diversified portfolio of top performing capital markets and insurance companies, as I told you. So they will have a lot of opportunities simultaneously, capital and then insurance market companies they can invest into. So remember that. And ETF, you all must be knowing, exchange traded funds. These are investment vehicles which invest. Yeah, so they invest in such securities which can be traded like stocks only, right? So these are, remember, traded like stocks only on the stock market. Quite easy to remember. I hope this is clear. Then next what we have is retail inflation. According to a data by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MOSPI, retail inflation based on CPI based retail inflation, it has slowed down to 5.48%. Okay, remember, it has slowed down to 5.48%. Reason? Easing food prices, especially the vegetables. You all know CPI is very important indicator, right? Very important indice of inflation calculation. Now CPI reflects you what? Consumer price index is basically the index which gives you changes in the price level of consumer goods as well as services, right? And particularly if you talk about inflation targeting in India, remember RBI or the Monetary Policy Committee also uses CPI based inflation for inflation targeting. Earlier WPI was used, but now CPI only is being used for quite long period of time. I hope it is clear, right? So remember, due to previous rise in the vegetable prices and other food article prices, inflation was on a higher pedestal. But now the inflation is easing as the food prices are easing. So this is the reason. Now CPI becomes important. You should be knowing the base year of CPI as well. Every time I discuss CPI and WPI and IIP with you, I always tell you the base year. So please remember this. Base year for CPI is 2012. And CPI, you know, is released or published by NSO under MOSPI. Okay. Next one, what we have is the IIP, Index of Industrial Production. So India's Index of Industrial Production, it grew by 3.5% in October 2024. Okay, so it has Index of Industrial Production has grown by 3.5%, remember. So the status is positive growth. What is the reason? Strong performance of certain industries or key sectors. So which are the key sectors which have performed really well? These are like basic metals sector, electrical equipments and refined petroleum products. So please remember the sectoral distribution: basic metals, electrical equipments and refined petroleum products. And then if you see mining, manufacturing and electricity, the broader sectors, if we classify mining, manufacturing and electricity, they have contributed maximum to this growth. And IIP base year 2011-12. Another important thing which you must be knowing about IIP is that the 8 core industries, they hold 40.27% of weight in the IIP. This is something you have to remember out of the static portion as well. Right. Next we have is Asian Development Bank has lowered India's economic growth forecast. So it has cut down the growth forecast for India to 6.5% for the current financial year of 2025. Earlier it was estimated at 7%. Okay, in the Asian Development Outlook. What is the reason? Reason is basically lower than expected growth in the private investment and housing demand. Please remember the reasons. So it has cited that private investment is not up to that level which it was expecting. It is below the level and the housing demand is also below the level. But it is expected that in the next year, in the upcoming months, the housing demand will shoot up and the property prices are going to shoot up. Let's see what happens, right? So private investment has to be improved. For that, domestic investment has to be increased and the foreign inflow of capital has to be increased as well. Then next we have S&P Global. S&P Global has retained India's GDP forecast at 6.8% for financial year 2025. Now, one very important fact, we have discussed the GDP forecast and I am always telling you, GDP forecasts are important, particularly if it is given by RBI and the MPC, that becomes really important. So, in the MPC also we have discussed, RBI has lowered India's growth forecast for the financial year 24-25 recently to 6.6%, remember. RBI has also lowered India's growth forecast to 6.6% for 24-25. So these were certain growth forecasts. Now, moving on to regulatory bodies news, as I was telling you, we have a lot of regulatory bodies news today, which are important, right? So first thing is, SEBI has proposed that DigiLocker should be leveraged as digital public infrastructure and make demat and mutual fund holding statements accessible through DigiLocker. So basically, this is a proposal which is saying that DigiLocker What is DigiLocker? You all know, where we keep our digital records of the important documents, right? We can access them from anywhere. So accessibility of these documents has improved with the help of DigiLocker. And DigiLocker is a part of key DPI, or the digital public infrastructure, right? Now SEBI is proposing key mutual fund statement, right? All the mutual fund holding statements and the demat statements should be integrated with DigiLocker. It can improve further accessibility of these documents and statements at the fingertips of the investors. So this is the proposal. Okay. Now the overall aim is to protect investor interest and reduce unclaimed assets in the securities market. So not only unclaimed deposits are rising in the banks, right, for which you see recently we have seen this decision where in the banking laws amendment bill, I have taken a separate class on this, so please go and watch it. This is important. Banking laws amendment bill mein government has provided for 4 nominees to your bank account, right? Why? To clear up all these things, unclaimed deposits and all. So there are unclaimed settlements or unclaimed assets in the securities market as well, to clear them off. If it can be accessed easily, unclaimed assets can be cleared off easily. The DigiLocker platform they want to leverage for demat and mutual fund statements. I hope it is clear, right, everyone? So directions which are given by SEBI says that the depositories like CDSL and SDL, the depositories who regulate the demat account and all, the depositories and mutual funds, they will be providing demat and MF holding statements in the DigiLocker. Okay. And the KYC registration agencies or KRAs, they will be providing information on demise of investor to DigiLocker. Now this particularly what happens is, suppose the account holder dies, the demat account holder dies, so it can be easily transferred to the nominee, isn't it? Now, but that process will be easier enough if it can be accessed easily, the information can be accessed easily. So they are saying that the KYC or the KYC registration agencies, the KRAs, they will inform DigiLocker in such case of any demise of such an account holder, and then the further process can be initiated. So KRAs also become important. They are in news. How many KRAs do we have at present? So presently you are having 5 KRAs, right? Remember them as well, the KYC registration agencies, which are responsible for recording and digitizing the KYC records. So first you have is CDSL Ventures Limited, second is Carvi Data Management Services Limited, third is NSDL Database Management Limited, fourth is Dotex International Limited, and fifth is Computer Age Management Service Private Limited. Remember, these are the 5 KRAs which we have. So the DigiLocker users, they can provide nominee for their DigiLocker account, right, which can be updated, and in case of demise, the nominee can easily access the funds to be settled in that account. I hope it is clear. Then next one which we have is, SEBI has also announced that the top 500 stocks now will be eligible for T+0 or same day settlement. So this is a big news coming out from SEBI. Remember this. SEBI has announced that top 500 stocks will be eligible for same day settlement cycle, or which we call as T+0, right, in a phased manner, is going to be effective from 31st January 2025. Now this is very much of a hurry. If you look at the other countries, most of the European countries, they still have T+2 settlement. What is this T+1, T+2? That from the trading day within 2 days, the transaction gets settled. From trading day within 1 day, the transaction gets settled. So T+0 is the same day transaction gets settled. Are you getting my point, right? Most of the European countries presently are having T+2. US has recently shifted to T+1 only, but now we are offering T+0. This is quite of a hurry, but then of course we cannot do something, right? So T+0 has been introduced by SEBI. 500 stocks, top 500 stocks will be rolled out in this manner, for in a phased manner, will be effective from 31st January, remember. Same day settlement cycle will be there, but it will be optional. Okay, the same day settlement cycle will be optional. It is not mandatory. This is something good. It will be optional. If you want to opt for it, opt for it. Otherwise, T+1 is going to be there still. Then present status, if we talk about, so presently only 25 stocks as of now, only 25 stocks are available for T+0 settlement. Only 25 stocks are available for T+0 settlement. Okay, and a block deal window also from 8:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. will be available. What is this block deal window? Block deal window is when large amount of shares they are traded, right? So this block deal window is provided for trade of unusually large amount of these stocks, right? This is block deal window. This is not normal trading which happens the entire trading within the trading hours. This block deal window is basically for big trading, right, of these stocks, a lot of value and number of stocks traded simultaneously. So block deal window will also be applicable in T+0 from 8:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. Otherwise, the normal trading hours, they will be there. Okay. So initially, bottom 100 companies will be there, then 100 companies, then 100 companies. So in this manner, up to 500, top 500 stocks or companies, they will be implementing this T+0. So please remember. Then next news coming from SEBI again is SEBI has also proposed simplification of the process of NRIs to trade in exchange traded derivative contracts. So these exchange traded derivatives contracts, NRIs, they participate, but the process was earlier quite complicated, right? SEBI is trying to make this process more easier. So it has proposed something. Let's compare the present status and the proposed changes. Present status में NRIs, they are required to obtain a custodial participant code from the clearing corporation through a clearing member. Whatever clearing corporation is there via which you are participating, right? Clearing corporations which clear these settlements between two parties, right? So they act like a counterparty. Like we have the CCIL, right? So NRIs, they need to obtain a custodial participant, and they are allowed to deal with one clearing member at a time only. With one clearing member at a time only, right? Now the proposed changes, they say that NRIs, they can use their PAN only, the permanent account number, right? PAN card. The NRIs can use their PAN to monitor these position limits and then can deal with the multiple clearing members as well. Now this is going to make the process more easier. So you are no longer required to take special custodial participant from the clearing house. You can do that transaction. You can monitor that position limit with the help of the PAN only. And you can also deal with multiple clearing members. Now what will it help? How it is going to help the NRI or any investor for that matter if you are allowed to deal with multiple clearing members? So you can basically assess which is more profitable, right? Which investment option would be more profitable and also reduce the risk involved. So more risk assessed investment can be there. Is going to help in more investment and ease out the process of investments from the NRI which is coming. Then next one is, I hope this is clear, right? Next news is SEBI has recently issued an exit order for the Indian Commodity Exchange, ICEX. Now Indian Commodity Exchange has been allegedly indulged in some, so it has basically not complied with the minimum net worth requirement as per SEBI. Minimum net worth requirement issues were there. That's why SEBI has called it to cease the operations. Cease the operations. It cannot work as a commodity exchange now. Although if it wants to work as a separate corporate entity, it can work. But now it is not going to be working as commodity exchange, right? So ICEX, Indian Commodity Exchange, is going to cease its operations. Also, it can continue as a corporate entity although. Okay. Remember that. So it facilitated your commodity exchanges, right? Commodity trade. Commodities mein your derivative in commodity based derivatives, the derivative, they derive their prices from the commodities, underlying commodities. It helps, farmers also in better price discovery, also mitigating the future price fluctuation. Suppose the farmer supposes that, speculates that in future price will be 2000 for suppose some quantity of the wheat, and wants to trade on this in the commodity market. If price happens to be lower than that in the market, the actual goods market, the farmer gets benefited, right? And they can opt for cash settlement or commodity exchange. It is need not necessarily the exchange of the good. It can happen without the exchange of the good. So you know how the commodity market works, right? So need not go into that. I'm just trying to make you understand. ICX will now no longer be operational. Then SEBI has revised guidelines for certain market infrastructure institutions as well. What are these market infrastructure institutions? The stock exchanges, the depositories, the clearing corporations, all of these which facilitate the financial market working and functioning, right? So new guidelines have been issued for market infrastructure institutions. What does it say? So basically, what is the aim of these new guidelines? If you see, they want to ensure robust capacity planning and real-time performance monitoring. They want all these market infrastructure institutions to have proper capacity planning. How much capacity do you have? How much demand is there, right, of the, say, trading lot? How much capacity do we have? So there are less chances of any outage happening, operational, say, blackouts, right? So these kind of things they want to reduce and improve operational efficiency. Guideline says, so all these market infrastructure institutions, firstly, they need to submit their methodology, how they are doing everything, methodology to SEBI within 3 months, okay, after approval from a standing committee on technology and the governing board. And to ensure adequate system capacity, they need to ensure high level of service availability. Now, what is this? You are going to understand this news. Just wait for a few seconds. It also says that the installed capacity which you are offering, the capacity which you are offering on your, say, exchange for trade, it should be at least the IT capacity as well. The networks, the servers, etc., whichever you are accessing, that IT capacity as well. All these things which are finally leading to the trade should be at least 1.5 times of the projected peak load. Should be at least 1.5 times of the projected peak load. Projected peak load is projected, right? So this is expected peak load. The maximum demand when you get during trading hours, how much is the maximum demand for stocks or securities to be traded, right? So projected peak load ka at least you have 1.5 times of the capacity, so that no outage kind of phenomena happens. Also, stock exchanges and clearing corporations, they will have to take immediate action if the IT component utilization, as I told you, networks you are accessing, servers you are accessing, all these things, if the IT component utilization exceeds 75% of the installed capacity, in that case you have to immediately take action and then ensure that, because if it exceeds 75%, that might lead to operational inefficiency and the trading might get disrupted. There can be a chance of an outage. So that's how you need to take immediate action in that case. Are you getting my point? Right? So these are the guidelines provided for market infrastructure. Remember, 75% se zyada hote, you need to take immediate action. These are certain guidelines by SEBI. Then moving on to banking news, you have securities, again SEBI issuing administrative warning letter to HDFC Bank. For what? For certain non-compliance with multiple regulations. So this is not important. You can just skip this thing. Just remember, such warning letter has been issued to HDFC Bank for non-compliance to a lot of regulations. The next one is Ugro Capital. Yes, this can be important. Ugro Capital has received a patent recently from the government's patent office. What? For what? For its proprietary credit scoring model, Grow Score. So it has developed a credit score model, Grow Score. Okay. Gross score. Now, why this is important, why it has received patent for this? Remember, MSMEs, due to their, what happens with MSMEs is, MSMEs, they also sell products to the government departments, right? Try to understand this. Sometimes, a lot of government departments, immediately, they don't, the MSMEs, they don't receive their payment, not only from government departments, but from a lot of customers, right? Now, what happens is, if you try to assess their credit score on the basis of their, say, revenue, on the basis of the invoices, bills, etc., so it creates a problem for the MSMEs. They're not able to improvise upon their credit score, and then it hinders their loan taking capacity from the banks. Getting my point? So this gross score is going to be more advanced and more efficient enough, is going to provide credit score to the MSMEs in a more efficient manner, which does not hinder, which does not block their paths to access loan from all these banks and NBFCs. So this is the overall thing, just understand this thing. And the MSME, as I told you, lending focused NBFC company has received patent. This is also NBFC which is providing MSME the loans, right? So it has received this patent for method and system for modeling credit scorecards. It will be creating this method and system for modeling credit scorecards for the MSMEs. Remember, so that's how founder and managing director of Ugrow Capital also becomes important. So remember, Sachindra Nath is the founder and MD of Ugrow Capital. Then next is ICICI Bank has signed an MOU with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia to support customers across Australia-India corridor. So they are trying to collab, the banks are trying to collab and provide better product line or the banking services across Australia and India. So this is the collaboration for that, remember. It will explore collaborations to facilitate introduction of corporate and institutional customers who are interested in investing or setting up business in the other bank's home countries. So just facilitating such business and providing them easy currency convertibility, etc. All these things will be there. Next thing is public sector banks have written off around 7 lakh crores between 2019-20 and 24-25. Finance Ministry has recently informed. Now, what is this writing off of loan? See, recently we have seen public sector banks are performing well. Writing off loans basically means you are clearing out your balance sheets, right? This is to say, if you think a particular loan cannot come back now, it has been more than 90 days, it is non-performing. So you just write it off. Writing off, remember, writing off does not mean that the liability on the borrower has been eliminated or reduced. No, the borrower of that loan is still liable to pay it, but you are just clearing off your balance sheets to maintain the records. So on record, you are just eliminating it or clearing out it from the balance sheet. It does not eliminate the liability of the borrower. So this is the thing, right? Then next, moving on to national and state news. National and state news mein we have NBCC, National Buildings Construction Corporation, has been assigned to take over and complete almost 16 projects of bankrupt builder Supertech over next 3 years. Okay. So these housing projects will now be completed, the apartments, etc., which have been stalled due to bankruptcy, etc. So such stalled projects, they are now going to be completed. Remember this. NBCC is National Buildings Construction Corporation, which was established as a Navratna. So it is a Navratna, remember, of the government of India. NBCC is a Navratna enterprise of the government of India. Then moving on to the next news, government has come up with a definition of green steel. Please remember this. This is going to be important. This is first time in the world that a country has defined what a green steel would be, has set out clear criteria for a green steel. I am telling all of you, please note it down separately. This is first time that we have a definition of green steel coming out from the government of any country, right? So that's why what is this definition becomes important. Now, green steel, you see, government is promoting, right, to make this sector also move towards net zero emission target. government has come out with definition of green steel and asked the industry to take measures to bring down such carbon emissions below the level of 2.2 tons on per ton of finished goods. So there are different definitions, 5-star and 3-star rating will be provided. Remember, if 1.6 tons of carbon dioxide or less is emitted in production of 1 ton of such finished steel, it will be considered as a 5-star green steel. So it will be provided 5-star green steel tag. Remember this exactly. Please remember how much? When 1.6 ton or less of carbon dioxide is produced in production of 1 ton of finished steel, that is going to be 5-star graded green steel. What about the other one? So if the emission is in the range of 1.6 to 2 tons, if the emission is in the range of 1.6 to 2 tons, then the product will be given 4-star rating, and those with 2 to 2.2 tons of emission of carbon dioxide with regard to 1 ton production of such finished steel will be rated 3-star. So please remember, 5-star ke liye the carbon dioxide emission per 1 ton of the finished steel should be 1.6 ton or less. If it is 1.6 say 2, it will be 4-star. If it is 2 say 2.2, it will be 3-star. Please remember, okay? And one more important fact, who will be nodal agency, who will be implementing it, measuring it, reporting it? So National Institute of Secondary Steel Technology. National Institute of Secondary Steel Technology will be serving as the nodal agency for this. Then we have government planning to launch a pilot project, Udan Yatri Cafe, for passengers traveling through the Udan scheme at the airports. You see, at the airports, the problem is overpriced products, right? So Udan scheme wants to make air travel affordable for the common man, but then it cannot be said to be affordable when the products available to eat, to drink are overpriced. So this is to make all these overpriced to replace or substitute all these overpriced products for the common man. They are trying to establish this in a pilot project manner, the Udan Cafe. Okay. And the first pilot project for this matter will be running at Kolkata airport, and later at the other airports it will be implemented in a phased manner. So remember, Kolkata airport mein first Udan Yatri Cafe is going to be set up, which is going to address the issue of overpriced foods and beverages at the airports. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the next news. Then Power Ministry has informed that the transmission plan for integration of 5 lakh megawatt of renewable energy capacity is being implemented gradually. Okay. Then we have 3D Integrated Solutions Limited and Society for Applied Microwave Electronics Engineering and Research, which is a premier R&D under METI. They have entered into a strategic partnership. Partnership for what? Partnership to address the key challenges of fast growing India's civil airport navigation market. Okay, to address all such challenges, including the communication systems, security related equipments, okay, for the civilian airport navigation. Then next we have is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has reported significant progress in India's renewable energy sector. Okay, so as of November 2024, total non-fossil fuel based installed capacity is 213.70 gigawatts. Remember, non-fossil fuel based installed capacity is 213.70 gigawatts, right? Then if you look at the solar power continues to lead in this renewable energy segment. Solar power with an installed capacity of 94.17 gigawatts in 2024. And wind power is also one of the leading contributors, say, after solar power, with a 47.96 gigawatts of installed capacity. So remember these things. Then we have India's atomic power capacity also doubling. Okay, atomic power capacity is also doubling. It has doubled up from 4,780 megawatts in 2014 to almost, so double, right? 8081 megawatts in 2024. 8081 megawatt in 2024. This is the atomic power capacity, remember. So today we are going to discuss only up to here. In the part 2 of 11 to 12 December, we are going to resume from the state news category. In this part 1, we have discussed up to the national news. A lot of SEBI guidelines were there, a lot of important news coming from regulatory bodies I have explained you. I hope you have understood all those concepts and the news. Please remember them. Now it's time for the top 5 questions from today's discussion. Let's see the short series. So in the short series, first question in front of you. Tell me, India's first exchange traded fund dedicated to capital markets and insurance market sector has recently been launched. Who has launched this ETF? Question number 1, tell me the answer. India's first ETF dedicated to capital as well as insurance market has been recently launched by which of the following mutual funds? Edelweiss, very good. So it has been launched by Edelweiss Mutual Fund Group. Remember that. Very good. Edelweiss. Next one. The SEBI, sorry. Okay. Question number 2. SEBI has announced that top how many stocks will now be eligible for same day settlement cycle or T+0 settlement cycle in a phased manner. So how many top or how many stocks of the top companies will be eligible for this T+0 settlement cycle now? Yes, anyone? Top 200, 500, 600, 300, 400. Very good. Top 500 is the correct answer. Remember, top 500 stocks will be eligible for this shift towards T+0 settlement in a phased manner. Okay. Next. Government has recently come up with a definition of green steel. So according to which, if how many tons of carbon dioxide or less is emitted in production of 1 ton of finished steel, it will be considered a 5-star green rated steel. It is going to be very important. Remember this. Tell me. Up to how much emission of carbon dioxide will be considered for 5-star graded green steel? Very good. So it is going to be 1.6 tons. E is the correct option here. Remember, 1.6 tons, okay, or less. 1.6 or less may you have 5-star, okay. Then 1.6 say 2, you have 4-star. Then 2 say 2.2, it will be 3-star. Then RBI has recently lowered India's growth forecast for the financial year 24-25 to how much percent? To how much percent? Yes, the correct option would be 6.6, right? It has reduced India's growth forecast to 6.6. 6.6. D will be the right option. Next. According to the latest guidelines by SEBI, the clearing corporations, stock exchanges, they need to take immediate action if the IT component utilization exceeds how much percent of the installed capacity to ensure there is no case of, say, outage or operational deficiency. Question number 5. PDFs are there in the paid courses, you can purchase them. PDFs are already uploaded in the paid courses. Sandeep, PDFs are uploaded in the paid courses, you can purchase them. So remember, this is 75%. The correct option would be 75%. If you remember, I told you this thing that we have discussed, SEBI has released new guidelines for capacity building, ensuring proper trading and reduction in the cases of outage and operational deficiency. So 75% se zyada if the IT utilization component exceeds, then you need to take immediate action. So 75% will be the correct option. This was the last question for short series for today. I hope all of this is clear and we have discussed some very important news today. So please keep on reading and revising. I will see you in the next class, part 2 of 11th and 12th December CA. Stay tuned. Good luck. We'll see you in the next class. Thank you so much. Have a great day.